I am joined by Clarke Henning, internet and e-commerce consultant. Currently working with a number of clients, including leisure hotels and resorts, coming to us from Leawood, Kansas, US of A. How are you?
Doing well. How about you, Jason?
I'm okay. I think I'm going to make it.
Yeah. It's been a long year for sure.
Yeah. How have you been? How have you been throughout the pandemic?
Pretty good. It's been an interesting time. I've had been in hospitality for close to 20 years, and I was really new when 9/11 happened, and then kind of the financial crisis in 08 and 09, and then the pandemic here. So it's been it's been interesting to kind of look at those different events and how it affected hospitality differently, each one. But over the last year, on the pandemic side of things, definitely been an interesting time for myself. Being in hospitality, as everyone knows, it was hit pretty hard initially. I work from home anyway, and then have kids at home when you've got to kind of figure that into remote learning, into trying to balance basically the world kind of collapsing in front of you and seeing what your clients are going through. It's definitely an interesting time. I'd say mid-March 2020 through the end of April was definitely one of the tougher times I've dealt with here in the last 20 years, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your clientele. I know you're working with leisure and you've got other clients, but tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, so we're, like I said, I've got a pretty wide-ranging background in hospitality over the last 20 years. Really started out on the technology side, and then grew into more of an e-commerce role as really the internet started taking prominence in what it was doing for, from a business standpoint and a new customer acquisition standpoint. About 7 years ago, went out on my own, started a small agency. We really focus on digital marketing and a lot of hospitality, technology consulting there. Really, we're a smaller agency, if you will, really kind of focus on a small number of clients. Really like to form, long-standing relationships there and work closely with them and ensure their success long-term. Leisure hotels and resorts has been one of our bigger clients. We have a great relationship there with their operations, sales, and marketing teams. Really have worked with them a lot to find a lot of success there in what they've been able to do as well.
How has what you do for leisure changed over the past year?
One of the big things, once the pandemic hit, we had to kind of take a step back and look at how we were going to market going forward. The prospective guests changed a little bit, on how they felt about traveling, initially, from a safety standpoint and, just what they were looking to do. And, it changes a lot of things, specifically that your marketing radius, if you will. We saw, a big surge in kind of that, that drive to guests, there was probably, a 3 to 4 hour radius there. So that kind of changed how we were marketing there. But really also, trying to, formulate messaging that really, ultimately, reached out, to our prospective guests and displayed that, coming where you're going to go to one of the resorts, was going to be a safe way to get there. There's a lot of, distance to spread out, a lot of things to do, what the safety measures were, what the protocols were, and, really just kind of reiterate the fact that there's a lot of space to kind of spread out and, roam about at some of these properties. And, that really resonated well with a lot of these guests, and it really kind of helped facilitate the turnaround, if you will, from a very, bleak, March and April last year.
What are some of the tactics you've been using to drive bookings?
A lot of, we work with a lot of a variety of different partners, on the technology side. TripTease has been a big help on, what we do from a messaging standpoint and how we get across some of our specific, packages and, offers that have been successful during this time. Really using a lot of their tools there on that side of things, to really reach out and get to the core demographic that we're looking to. Definitely on the social side, our social teams have been fantastic in really defining, what guests we're looking to market to and getting that messaging out there effectively to them. We've got a lot of great things that we've done there in terms of, just knowing the demographics to hit there and really building some effective messaging that has resonated well with those. And what we're finding now is using that reach to even get more and more exposure, to those audiences. Because one of the big things that we've kind of found over the last, year or so, that the returning guests at a lot of these properties, while they're still there, because of some of the travel restrictions, people not wanting to fly and whatnot, we're able to use different, advertising channels to even reach out and expand the brand to new guests that that may not have ever been there before. So we're seeing a big influx of actual guests that have just never been to a lot of these properties. So that's been one of the big advantages that we've seen over the last year is you're getting in front of people that maybe otherwise potentially may have been traveling somewhere else or just didn't know about the brand, and that's in turn turns into a long-term customer as well, on that side.
A big social push. You getting a lot of traction there?
Yeah, getting a lot of traction on social. A lot of paid channels as well. SEM. On the retargeting side, really have kind of work together with all of those channels to really push the brand message out there. We're finding a lot of people are looking at whereas the average stay length might have been 1 to 2 days in the past. We're seeing a lot of much longer stays, even 4 and 5 nights in some places. The average stay length is definitely driving up in some of the resort markets that we work in.
You think people are working and playing?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that. We've worked a little bit on some kind of almost work and play style packaging offerings there, and that's taken hold in some places. A lot of it is a lot of leisure based stuff too. We're seeing, I think specifically last year after the lockdowns, you saw that the people that did want to travel really wanted to get out of the house. They were tired of being at home, and they were ready to get out and but still travel safely, if you will. But we are definitely seeing that component where there are some people that that are there to work and do a little bit of work and leisure at the same time.
Any advice for hoteliers as we start to work our way out of this mess?
Well, I mean, I think what it really kind of taught us is we kind of had to go back and go back to the drawing board a little bit and figure out some new tactics. And I think ultimately going forward, the big thing's going to be how do you effectively market. But I think there's still going to be somewhat of hesitation on some travelers' part, from a safety standpoint, even as vaccine rollouts continue to occur and things like that. How do you effectively market your property and your messaging that it's still going to be a clean, safe environment, if you will. I think that's going to be key. And then I think utilizing all of your resources at hand to really effectively push your brand message out there. Like I said, we've kind of used a variety of different channels to really market some of our some of the properties that we work with, and there hasn't been one single channel that's kind of outperformed another. It's been a kind of a cohesive mix of all of them together. Ultimately is what we found success with.
But thank you, sir, for joining me.
All right, thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate it.
You bet.